All right. Starting the stream. Okay. There we go. It's getting set up for today's live stream. Let me make sure we're just ready and good to go. All right. All right, welcome to today's live stream where I build a template for you right before your eyes, starting from scratch inside of Makeswift. And today, gonna be a little different. I don't have any previous designs I've worked on, so gonna kind of really just go from top of the head and kind of start creating some stuff. I've seen some sites recently that given me some inspiration, so I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of work that way. So I don't have any actual designs or mock-ups to show you as I work, but I'll show you how you build a page anyway. And we'll kind of just play around with things on the page as I build them. Okay, so let's start with a blank page. Always want to start blank to show you how you can just build it from scratch. Show you that anything is possible in Makeswift. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drop a box onto the page. I'm going to give this box some padding, some inner spacing on the left and right first. Give it some top spacing as well. And I'm going to give this one a name of navbar. And I'm going to try a different kind of navbar than I've done before. Actually, I don't think I've ever created one like this before. But I'm going to create kind of your standard navigation where you have navigation on the left and right, your logo in the center, and then navigation on the yeah, so basically the logo right in the center. So actually, before I do that, let me put another box on the inside. Call this box navbar container. Let's remove all the inner spacing there. Let's see, let's put navigation in there. Let's hide the logo. Don't need the logo in there. Let's make this first one left aligned. Let's add some text links in there. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna remove or change the button style instead of flat. Let's make it clear. And let's start giving it some styles. So I'm gonna select a font. I found one font on Google earlier today that I kind of like, so I'm gonna try using that one. Let's use this first one, Cormorant Garamond. Been kind of in the serif fonts recently, definitely on trend. I'll leave it as regular. I'll have just this one. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna give myself the italic as well because I think the italics look kind of pretty for this font. So I'm gonna add these two weights, hit save. And let's go ahead and give this one that style. Let's actually go ahead and add a site color first. Oop, there we go. The color needs to be black. There we go. Let's give it that font style. It's small, but don't want to take up too much space. I might make the font size a little bigger. Okay. And now I'm going to duplicate this link, so we'll have multiple links right there. I'm just going to say we have 2 on each side. So I'm going to have this navigation. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate, copy and paste this navigation onto the right side of the navbar container. And for this right one, I'm going to have the alignment on the right. Then I'm going to take an image, which would be our logo, and put that right in the center. And let's give this kind of a logos width, which, you know, at the moment I don't know what it's going to be exactly. We'll say 120. And let's select the navbar container. Let's center align vertically all those elements. I'm just going to give it a max width as well, because I don't want to be always going to the far edges of the page. So I'm going to set a max width of, like, let's say 1100. Just feeling it out. Oops. Okay. And let's go and just put a few things here. So we'll say like services, case studies, and this is, I'm just kind of making up like a business template, or a, you know, any kind of business could use this. Maybe instead of case studies, you have press releases or something like that. But again, these are just links I'm putting in here for now. About us, and we'll say contact. Okay. Cool, so that looks pretty good. What I could do, I could even make these actually completely sandwich the actual image. Maybe like do something like that. The only issue with that is that if you know, once the screen gets smaller, which, even that's not too bad. Let's add some column gap in there as well, just to make sure it doesn't bump up against the logo. That works. And let's change the gap here, or the gutter. You know, let's make it 5. Okay, so that's our nav bar. So the next section I'm going to do as a hero. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to copy, duplicate this first box in this first section. Give this one a name, call it hero as well. Gonna get rid of the components that we've added in here. These elements, don't need them. And instead of navbar container, let's call it hero container. And I'm going to first drop in big piece of text. So I want to have like a big headline. Get rid of that text we have there. Let's have a big headline. It'll be an H1 using our font here. Center aligned. I want to make it really big. I'm a big fan of big text. Let's shrink that line height a little bit. And let's just increase the width of it also. It can kind of fit nicely on the page. We can go ahead and even make, I'll go ahead and leave it a little bit smaller. So we'll say the headline should never go above 900. Okay. Next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add just a little bit more inner spacing, just to give it some space between a little too much space. Just putting some spacing there. Probably will change it up later. Let's put in some text. Get rid of this header that's here. So we'll leave that without no tags there, leave it as a paragraph. Let's see, let's select a font for this particular piece of text. Gonna add a new font. Let's see, I'm trying to think if I want to go, I might try to add some contrast instead of another serif. Let's go with a sans serif, and I'll do railway, almost like in the middle, has some like nice little flares to it. So I'm gonna add the font, and I'm gonna leave regular as an option, and I'm gonna go ahead and let's add bold as an option just so you can have, in case you need to accentuate any text. Gonna save it. Let's select that font now. Let's make this intro one, kind of big. Don't need all this text, so I'm gonna maybe just shrink it down to 3 lines of text there. I think I'm gonna make the line height a little bigger. Let's add the black, just make sure it's pulling from our own colors. Bring that down a little. Okay. So I haven't added any colors yet, and I guess I'll kind of play with that maybe in a little bit. So the next thing I'm gonna add is I'm gonna have, I think like an image underneath this. So I'm gonna put a box, that'll be, I'm actually gonna use a background image for this particular section, for this particular box, instead of an inline image. I kind of want to be able to control the height of it. So I'm gonna go ahead and just like let's just add a background color for now. Let's see, don't want to figure out my colors at the moment. Let's add some colors, why not? So let's see, what am I feeling for this particular? Let's see. Maybe kind of like a deep, almost like a purplish. Don't think I really use a purple yet. That looks pretty good. Let's add another color. Let's add a beige. Can use that as well. Okay. Let's see, do I want an accent color to go with that purple? What would go with purple like that? Definitely don't want to do orange. Yellow might be too like football, neon. Could try this color here. Kind of like a little aqua, a little bit of green to it. Yeah, let's see how it looks. We'll kind of use that as our palette at the moment. And if we need to change any of those colors, we can easily do that. Okay, so I'm gonna, first of all, let's get rid of all the other interspacing here. I'm gonna add just top interspacing. This is gonna be dictating the height of this box. I'm gonna remove the placeholder as well so we don't see that little gridded box in the middle. Okay. Let's go 380. And let's add some corners, make the corners rounded. All right. Okay, so again, just laying out some elements on the page. Okay. Welcome to the live stream, anyone joining. You can also join us on Discord if you'd like. You can either chat with us or just message us on our live stream Discord channel. So feel free to join. Okay, so now I'm going to duplicate this section. I'm going to call this one, let's call this one services. And let's go ahead and delete all the content we have in here. Services container. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the bottom spacing from here, so I just have it in one place that I can kind of control. And I have my container for my services, and what I'm going to add now, I'm going to have multiple services and have a box for each one. So this is the services list essentially, but this is going to be like one service first. And I'm going to, let's copy and paste some of this text in here. But let's make this one way smaller. Even smaller. Might even go a little smaller than that. Okay, let's do left aligned. We'll say H2. Gonna copy and paste this text as well into that same box. Also, let me get rid of the width, so it's not, because the width is going to be dictated more by the box. Get rid of the inner spacing in this box. Let's get rid of the bottom spacing there. Left align that. Let's make this much smaller. It's like 16. And let's go ahead and actually give this let's create a typography for it, because then I'm going to use it a lot more on the page. So I'm going to go ahead and set some reusable styles here. Call this one paragraph. And let's go ahead and make this a little bit less opaque. We'll say like 70%, so it kind of gets a little color behind it. Let's update that paragraph style. Let's take away some of that spacing there. Okay. I'm just going to throw a box in here just so we can get a general idea of a few boxes there, just so we can kind of see what it would look like with multiple services right there. What if we do a fourth one? So like maybe 4. Yeah, I can do 4 services, I think. With just a little bit of text, not too much. Looks like we have some gap right in here, some column gap, which is what I want. And let's see, on top of each one, I think I'm going to also go ahead and include an image on top of each of these boxes. So, but we'll make them like an icon. So instead of it being huge image, we'll just do like kind of like a maybe 80 pixel wide icon. We'll left align it and then give it some hardy spacing below. Okay. You also want to give this, let's give that purple color. Start using that around. Maybe the same up here. And let's give this one that same like 70%. Let's also create some more typography styles. So let's call this one, create a new one. We'll call this one, could either call it paragraph large, let's do paragraph large. Okay, so now we can reuse that between all of our pages, which is gonna be nice. Same with this one, we'll call it this one, create a new one, call it heading 1. And as we go through tablet and mobile, we'll be changing those as well. Okay. I think I'm also gonna close the gap a little bit. Oh, I meant to do a negative 0.2. Here we go. just so it's not quite so spaced out. Okay. And now we can get rid of some of these boxes here. And we can go ahead and duplicate this box. And you'll see as I duplicate, because they're already in a row, they go next to each other instead of on top of each other. All right, so that's the services section. I think I need to just add a little more spacing between them. Okay, 40 pixels looks pretty good. All right. So next thing I'm gonna do is let's add some spacing to the bottom of this section. I'm going to copy and paste this hero section. Just easier place to start from. Get rid of content. Let's make the inner spacing top and bottom, let's be the same. And let's give this a background of that beige color. Let's see, let's tone that beige down a little bit. Edit the color. Get a little bit less of a darker beige. Okay, that did a little bit, not huge, but works for now. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to try playing around with, overlaying some text boxes on some images, which you have to kind of do in a bit of a tricky way, but we can achieve that. So instead of hero, let's call this one just like features. Let's say feature 1. I'm gonna have these be, each one of these will be their own. Each one of these boxes, that is. So I'm going to, so this feature 1 box is good on its own at the moment. I'm gonna have a background on it, background image. First thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drop another box in here. So this box is going to be like our feature 1, we'll say like content, and it will have more inner spacing. It's like a good amount of it. It'll have a background color of white, which we need to add. And let's go ahead, I'm trying to think if I want to give it a drop shadow. You know, I'll try without a drop shadow first, see how it looks. And let's set the width of it to be something like maybe 400. Again, just kind of picking a random number. And let's go ahead and right align that box. So just to give you an idea of what I'm going for, let's go ahead and take this image or this other box that I've created that's around it. And let's go ahead and give it just a background color. We'll just use that purple from before. So imagine this background color will be our actual background image. And I'm gonna give this some inner spacing of like, let's say 50. So it'll always have 50 pixels above and below this content box on the right. I'm also going to, let's match the same corners that we had from up here. So we had 10. You know what? I'm actually not going to do that because it's not going to look the same, and I'll show you why. So the next thing I'm going to do to create this overlap effect is I'm going to add a gradient. So I'm going to add a gradient on top. I'm going to have this gradient pointing from the right. So it's going to be a essentially like a horizontal. I'm going to take this value here let's match the background color that we've used. So it's that beige color. And then on the left, I'm gonna also match the color, but leave it at 0%. The reason you wanna match it is because sometimes you get kind of funky results if they don't match. If you're going from like a full color transparent, sometimes like on iOS, it'll show it as a weird gradient because of that. So I just suggest matching your colors for that reason. And then I'm gonna pick a value to set the stop at, like 20%. Let's do the same thing with the other one. So 20%. And now you'll see to have kind of like an overlaid content box on top of what will be a background image. So we'll be basically blocking out some of that background image, which is really okay. All right, so let's copy some text, put it into here. Let's make this text a lot bigger. Okay. Leave it a little bit bigger, or line height a little bit taller. You know, I might make this even bigger. Yeah, 44 looks pretty good. Okay, let's add a little more space between there. All right. And let's start adding some links in here as well, because we definitely want to have links on your site. And for this style, let's see, what have I not really used before? Yes. Haven't used outline as much. I guess I'm gonna stick with flat. And again, I'm just playing around with some different styles. Okay. Not too bad so far. Let's make that a little bit tighter. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna copy this feature one that we have here. Let's duplicate it. So we'll put it right below. I'm gonna select the next box wrapping it, which is the features box. And I'm gonna add row gap to that. So let's say like 80, let's say 100 pixels of row gap. And now I'm going to take this, instead of feature 1, let's call it feature 2. And call this one feature 2 as well. Now let's reverse, or just change the direction of that gradient. So you'll see, just grab that handle, switch it over there, and now drag this all the way to the left. So we're just kind of creating a little bit of a back and forth pattern with these feature sections. Let's increase that to 120, make it a little bit more space. Maybe it has such a bigger screen. I always feel like I want to add more space to it. Okay. So that is just coming together. I might just make this instead of a round, since the other ones aren't going to be round anymore. Can't technically get a rounded corner there anymore, because the gradient will be blocking it. All right. So let me also start checking this on tablet, just to make sure I'm not going to be needing to redo some of these sections as much. Like this, for example. Let's go ahead and set up kind of some more mobile styles for this part. That way when I repeat it and duplicate it, I won't have to do it manually each time. And let's go ahead and add some more inner spacing. That way you can just see the image more. Okay. That works. And let's check it on mobile as well. I'll ignore the top at the moment. Okay, so let's see for this one. So now we're starting to get into kind of some interesting territory, where you did kind of decide how you want to make this look best on mobile. So I might actually I might change the direction. Let's try this. Let's see if we like actually go, instead of from the right, we change the direction from the bottom. And increase the height. And so it's like kind of peeking out a little bit. Okay. So it gives you kind of the same effect. And again, it might look a little bit better with like less text in there. You know, you might not have that much text, but it's not too bad. Okay, so if we switch back to desktop, I'm going to actually delete this one. I want to use the one I've already created the mobile styling for. Let's duplicate again. But again, really easy just to recreate what it looked like before and just drag that to the left. And call that one feature 2. Okay. All right, so I think that looks good for this particular section. Let's see, do I want to try something very different for the next section? Just playing around with ideas. Let me drag in a brand new box because I might want to play with something here. So what if we made this one like almost like a full width content area, which kind of breaks up this max width container that we've created with the other sections, just to create a little bit of visual interest. So for this one, just thinking out loud here. You know what, I think I'm gonna actually, I don't think I'm gonna do a full width one. I think that's just kind of a little, no, let's not do that. Let's just duplicate this hero section. Got another idea. We'll call this one case studies. You know what? I need to give this a typography as well. So let's do that. Let's give this one call this one H2 or heading 2, I mean. That way I can apply it to ones like this, keep them all connected. And actually over here, let's do the same thing. And let's call this one heading 3. And now let's apply them to each of these. You know what, I see these are actually vertically aligned. Let's not do that. Let's just keep them aligned to the top with each other. Let's do more space. Too much space. Okay, a little better. Okay. You know what? I might go ahead and let's go ahead and add more space to the top of this one. Yeah, that works. Okay. Now we can make this one an H2, heading 2, I mean. Let's see. Add some more space at the top. And let's go ahead and just remove this box for now. Let's start as fresh. So I'm not having to like just remove a lot of things. Okay, so for this particular box, I am let's go ahead and remove the inner spacing. I'm gonna put 2 more boxes inside of here. So I'm gonna have 1 box on the right and 1 box on the left. And the one on the left is going to be an image box. So kind of similar to what we've been doing. Let's change some of these names so I can kind of see what I'm working with here. Let's just change this inner one. So image, okay. I'm actually not gonna need the inner spacing on the image one. Let's go ahead and give this a background color again so we can kind of see what we're working with. I'll leave it as a blue this time. I want this image box to match the height of whatever box is next to it. So I'll go ahead and drop another box to the right of the case studies image box. And I'm gonna give this one inner spacing. Let's add some inner spacing to the bottom of this one, just so I can scroll down and see, get a better view of it. Okay, let's also remove the placeholder. And you'll see that as I basically like change the height of this, or as the content changes the height of it, that the one on the left is also changing its height and matching it, which is what I'm going for. And I'm thinking of having this just be kind of like a list of like some of the different case studies. So I'm gonna copy and paste let's see. You know what? I might have this be a different kind of thing here. Make it an H2, make sure these are all the correct, okay. I might just have maybe just some like explainer text there. And just like different text blocks. Actually, copy and paste this one, or duplicate it. Again, just playing with ideas here. Nothing's set in stone. Okay. Do I want to add a background color to this? Not really sure I do. Okay, just playing with that spacing a little. Make sure I've got, don't really need that right spacing technically. Okay. All right, let me just take a look at what I've created so far. Let's see, I wonder if I actually want to make this one kind of a different width. Just break up those lines a little bit. Those borders on the left and right, those like imaginary borders that I'm kind of seeing as I'm designing it. Okay. All right, that's a whole other section there. Done, I'd say, for now, until we add some images in there. And let's see. For the next section, let's do maybe like a kind of like a section with like 3 buckets with some content there. Let me think. Okay. Just copy and paste this. Get a good start. Make that a heading 2. Give it the beige background. And instead of having this box here, I'm going to create some more like overlaid boxes, which what I could do is probably just copy one of these. And I'm actually gonna first drop another box down below. This will be kind of like my list. We'll just say, we'll call this one like news for now. News container, and we'll call this one news list. And now I'm gonna have 3 columns with each of these kind of news stories. So instead of them being from the side like that, I'm gonna make it be from the bottom. And I'm gonna have the left and right padding be, let's see, I'm gonna get rid of the bottom padding and use kind of like left and right padding. Let's say maybe 20 is enough. And let's just make this one a heading 3 so it's smaller, as well as an H3. And let's, you know, I don't really need all this text. Let's maybe like, oh, I'm gonna give it a date. this a lot smaller too. Let's try that out for now. Get rid of this inner spacing on the list. I'm actually gonna have this width now be full width instead of 400. And again, like when I have multiple columns, that'll kind of dictate. And let's make this one a smaller button. Actually, no, let's just change the font size a little bit. Read more, okay. Let's make this one smaller for the date. Don't need to be too big. And again, let's bring things a little bit closer to each other. Okay. So keep in mind again that this blue area here is going to be for the actual image. Before I start actually playing with this padding, let's go ahead and duplicate it. Put it in news list. And duplicate one more time. Let's have 3 columns, 3 different news stories. Let's add some column gap there. And let's add some bottom inner spacing just so I can scroll down a little. Okay, let's increase that column gap by a little bit more. You know, I think I actually want these to be a little bit smaller, so let's create a different style. Let's go ahead and create an H, like a heading 4, even though it's technically an H3, but again, these names don't actually correlate to the tag. So let's create a heading 4. And let's go ahead and apply that to these other ones. Let's see. Yeah, let's go ahead and make these smaller. Smaller links. And I think we probably do want to add some more spacing up top, just so that image can show a little bit better. Because again, keep in mind the image will be, you know what, I'm also gonna, let's do this. Let's take this first box, let's make that background be not quite as high up, or that gradient that kind of creates that overlay effect. Okay, a little better, not quite so much. And we can go ahead and delete the ones that we don't need anymore. Let's go ahead and adjust a little bit more. Every pixel counts. Okay. All right. Okay, so let's see. So for the next section I want to do, I think we could probably just go ahead and do, I don't know if we need a CTA section. I'll just go ahead and do a footer section there. Yeah, let's go ahead and just do a footer. And let's go ahead and start with this section. Get rid of the news list here. Don't need our text. And let's give us, call it footer. Footer container. And I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of some of the spacing here. Don't need to be as much spacing. Let's give it a color. Let's go and use this purple color, kind of as a big area of color, since we haven't really done that yet. So I think it'd be nice for the footer to do something like that. Yeah. Keep in mind we actually won't have much purple at all in here aside from the text, because all these will be covered by images unless we do some sort of overlay or gradient on them. But at the moment, you'll see purple, but once we get images in there, you won't really have as much purple. Maybe we'll add purple elsewhere. Okay, so we have our footer container. And let's start adding, we basically want to have columns for our footer sections. So I'm gonna drop a box in. Let's get rid of the inner spacing. Let's call this one footer call. It'll be kind of our first one that we work with. I'm gonna add a few more boxes in here as well, just so I can have a little placeholder or placeholder images, or places that I know will be taken up. Let's go ahead. Okay, let's leave the gap as it is. I think that might work. So in this first footer call, I'm going to have a piece of text. So let's go ahead and just copy a header in there. And this will be actually our footer column header. Let's go ahead and give it this, give it a beige, that beige color. And let's shrink this one down by quite a bit. Maybe even like 22. Probably just leave it as a paragraph, not even as a header. I don't think it really needs to be considered a header. And we'll call this one footer category. Let's go ahead and name this one as well. So let's go ahead and create a typography style. Call it footer heading. All right, and now let's start copying this text and start putting it underneath to be the actual links for the footer. Let's give it a color. We'll make it white. Leave it as bright white. We're going to definitely decrease the size of it. We'll say link. You know what I actually might do here? I'm gonna make this white, but like much more transparent. So kind of a little bit of a more subtle link header. And we'll give this one actually the beige. Okay. Let's update this one. And let's go ahead and give this one a name as well, or typography style. We'll call this footer link. And let's add some more in there so we can stack them up. We want these to be not center aligned, so leave it top aligned by default. And let's go back into the box or the call, and let's add this a little bit of row gap to them. Okay, let's add a little more spacing below this head one. So this is the only one that actually has a little bit of bottom spacing on there. That looks good. Okay, and one thing I've kind of noticed with let's see. I've seen a lot of footers now that have kind of like multiple levels in one footer, so I might do something like that. So let's go ahead and copy and paste this one. I'm gonna keep it in the same footer call. I'm gonna add some just top spacing to this one. I'm just manually kind of creating another level down here, but I want them to kind of stay together. I'm gonna copy and paste this link in here, And it could be a different number of links in this category. Okay. And again, this is like for a pretty hefty footer where you have a lot of links. So you might not have that many links, and you can just definitely delete all these other links here. But again, just kind of going off of a trend I've been seeing on some websites with really big footers. Okay, and now let's go ahead and delete some of these other boxes here. We'll leave the one on the right, and let's go ahead and duplicate this footer, and you can kind of see what it's looking like with these different levels of link categories. Okay, not too bad. Let's check this on tablet first. Okay, that's actually not too bad on tablet either. And on mobile, obviously we'll start stacking things a lot more, but I think it's fine for the time being. Yeah, don't have to worry about it too much. All right, so on the right side, I think I might just do like your copyright information there. You know what, actually I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna take this box, put it all the way on the left side. So it'll be more of the first thing you see. And let's change some of the distribution here. No, might be too much. Yeah, I think what I might do in that case, actually, I might change the width of this entire thing. Just a little bit. I think that's about what I did up here with the services. Yeah, made it 1,000, so we'll kind of make it a little bit smaller. And for here, what I'm gonna do is, let's see, I'll go ahead and maybe do something like repeat the logo. So we'll have like another version of the logo right here. Be, you know, a lot smaller, of course. Left align that, add some bottom spacing. Let's have our copyright statement here. You know actually what this could be? This could be where we could even talk about the actual company here. That could be something. You know, let me go back to this idea of making these smaller. Let's see. And that one's almost like too big on the other side. Yeah, it's hard to get a good fit in there. I guess that could work. So the right side's technically a little bit smaller. Let's just get rid of some of those texts. They're not going to really be that long. Let's see what it might look like more realistically. Okay. Let's say we make this one, let's do the same footer link style. You know, instead of footer link, let's go ahead and call it footer text. Let's edit that one just a little bit more general. Okay, let's just close that gap a little bit. And again, making up what even might be there. You know, I might want to make maybe a little less space between the category name. Okay. Let's duplicate this one. This will be our copyright. Oops. And let's change the color of this one to be more faded in the background. You know, let's get a little more content for that little section as well. Imagine it's kind of like a little bit of a statement for what this company does. You know what, but maybe I don't want it to be so small. Maybe it's a little too small. So if I change back to the footer, or to the paragraph I mean, make it white. Okay. Honestly, it's still a little small, or a little large, I mean. So yeah, you know what? Yeah, let's put it back to the footer text. And let's throw some social links in there as well. We'll leave them without a shape. Icon color, let's see. Let's go with the white with some opacity to it, some transparency. Let's increase that link gap. And let's left align. And don't need the bottom spacing or the top spacing, I don't think at the moment. Yeah, actually I have it set there already. So I can just kind of okay. So there's our footer. Yeah, a little bit of different kind of footer. Let's see, what if I do make this back to 1100? I think that's fine. Maybe I'll just make this one smaller. Make it go. Hug the left a little bit more. So you'll get some more gap there. Yeah, that could work. Let's see, maybe this should be opposite too. Maybe the social link should be up top. This more at the bottom, and make it even smaller too. No one likes the big copyright. Okay, I'll add a little more space there. Okay, yeah, I think the footer looks pretty good. Give it a on hover effect. Just curious, we haven't used this blue as much. I'm not even sure I'm loving the blue, to tell you the truth, for all these other areas. Definitely gonna play with that some. I wonder if it should be like a gold. Let's try this. Let's play with this color a little bit. Actually, first before I do that, I'm going to let's make the text color. I'm gonna go for a darker, or for a lighter background. Let's make it a darker text color so I can see it. Okay, now let's play with this button color. If I go for like a gold. A little brighter, let's add a little more, a little orange. Let's try that. So kind of some royal colors. And you'll see that, it's updated all the areas that I had. That color. Yeah, it's a little better. I think the blue wasn't working too well. I think the gold, I think I need to be a little bit brighter. And also I need to go through and make the text. Let's see. Let's give it I think 50% works pretty well. Let's see, maybe for accessibility's sake, let's make it 60%. So I'll just need to copy and paste that one here. And let's change it here as well. Okay. Copy and paste that. And then delete. Okay. Yeah. It looks a little better. Okay. All right, so got the desktop version of our homepage. And next steps are going to be to make sure it looks good on other devices as well. So we'll do that in a little bit. I'm going to take a quick 10-minute break and I'll be back on very shortly. So stick with us and feel free to hang out. And we're back. Working on a new template today. Okay, so the next thing I was going to do was I was going to be basically adding or make sure this looks good on tablet and mobile. But I'm kind of looking at this design and see if I want to change things up a little. You know what? I think I'm fine with how it looks at the moment. Okay, so let's start making this look good on tablet and mobile. Okay. So for the top section, so first thing I'm going to do, let's get rid of some of the spacing. Let's make this text bigger, closer to what we had on the desktop, but not obviously as big. So it was 80 before, so we're definitely not going to use that amount. Let's say 56. That looks pretty good. Keep it nice and big still for tablet. And all I'm really doing, what I do most of the time, is I'm kind of just tweaking spacing a little bit here and there. Let's make this intro a little bit smaller. Oops. Stay in tablet to go to build mode. Just bringing things a little closer together. We won't be needing as big of an image, so 260 should be pretty good. Let's see, for tablet, for the services section, so first thing, actually, before I do that, let's go ahead and get the layout. So I'm gonna split this layout into 2 columns instead of 4. Let's add row gap. 50 looks good. Let's match the left and right spacing I've been changing for the other parts. Okay. And now I think I'll just kind of just get rid of some of that bottom spacing. Let's see, and this for this text as well. Let's see, so we have 32 there. 28. Let's make it like 30. So we'll decrease the size a little bit, but not so much. And if we update heading 3, we'll see it apply to the other ones as well. And let's close up the gap just a little bit too. Okay. That section is good. And fortunately, we actually checked this section earlier, or we made it look good on tablet, so that one is pretty much done for us. I think the only thing I might change is the actual header size. And you know what I forgot to do here is I forgot to update or push this one as well. And that'll push it towards ones found at the bottom, like this one, so it's a little bit smaller. Okay, so let's make heading 2s. That's what we originally had on desktop. We had 44 pixels. So let's make this one, let's go ahead and make it 40, whoops. Oh, typing too fast. Let's try it again. There we go. Let's go ahead and go like 36, not quite as huge. And let's update. And you'll see it update on at the top here. Let's make that line height smaller. Let's push that update again. Okay. And going back here, let's make the row gap not quite so large, maybe like 100. Okay, I think paragraph I'll leave as is. Let's see that, get rid of some of this. Yeah, let's get rid of some of the spacing on top and bottom and left and right. Okay. Again, just tweaking some spacing here and there. Nothing too difficult. And for this header, let's see, we have 30 pixels set. On desktop, we had 32. So let's go with a little bit of a smaller number. Let's just say 28 maybe. Probably want to make it 1.2, I imagine. If there was multiple lines, let's just test it out and see, just in case your header gets to be 2 lines. Yeah, 1.1 looks pretty good to me. And let's update heading 3 as well. Get rid of this text we just added. Okay. And again, just closing some of these gaps between these text elements. Let's see, do I want to make this? Okay. Let's also get rid of some of this height there. It's going to be a very tall image at this point. Okay. All right. Bring that down to 80 as well. Make that 80. I think we're making everything else 80. Yes, so all that is 80, top and bottom. And just grab these handles. Super easy to do. Overshot that one. Okay. Okay, so for this next section, let's see how we want to make this look on tablet. Okay, let's think about this one. Okay, what we could do is we could stack them, or it could have like one main one followed by two smaller ones. That could work. Let's make sure it's using the same interspacing as it was using before. There we go. Looks a little bit more like it did before. And let's add some row gap as well. So, okay. And even on this one, we can add more spacing on top. Be kind of like our featured one right there. And let's close that gap too. Or the line height, I mean. A little too much line height. Okay. Let's probably make less row gap. I think it's okay for that one. Okay. That looks good. Looked a lot scary at first. Once you start breaking things apart, they kind of start fitting into place better. Okay, like same with this one, for example. So for this one, let's change the footer heading. So originally we had 22. So right now it's bigger than that, it's 28. So we want to go anything much smaller. So let's say 20. Let's update the footer heading style. So it'll apply to all of them. Much better looking already. And honestly with that, I think that one almost works just how I left it. And I might actually get rid of some of that spacing. Again, let's match left and right, make it 25 instead of 30. Same with here, I think I forgot to do it there. And did I do it? I think I did it here. Nope, did not do it here yet. Again, keeping consistent here, I think I did do it. Yep, did it up there, so that's good. Okay. So we're looking pretty good on tablet. So let's switch over to mobile, which is probably gonna look kind of scary at first as well. And it does. So let's see what to do for mobile now. So here would actually be probably a pretty good use case for our visibility controls, in which I would have probably like a separate navigation altogether. And I've mentioned before that I don't love having things in templates that are hidden like this because I'm gonna make hidden, because it can be a little bit confusing for people when they first get into a template. But I'll go ahead and just do it like this just to show you what I would typically do. So I've added a navigation, which is going to be added now to all the device modes, because when you drop in content, that's what happens. It gets added to all the devices. You can only make style changes based on different device modes. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the navigation. Let's add some links. Actually, you know what? I'm going to scratch that. Since I've already got something styled here, I'm going to delete that. I'm going to copy this one, paste it up top. Make sure it's inside of navbar container. Okay, there we go. And now I can just go ahead and duplicate these and call this, or add the other links here. Show the logo. And I'm actually gonna, because on mobile, we're gonna make the mobile menu hide, or actually make the links hide and show as a mobile menu or a hamburger menu. And just selecting our, basically our, what it would look like when it covers from the right. So let's see, I guess what I might do actually is I might go ahead and make the close background color, that purple, be kind of a contrasty color that covers the entire screen. For the close icon, let's make it like a 50% white. And I'm going to need to go to each of these links and change the text color to be white now instead of the black. Because again, background's purple, so we want some contrast. So again, I can install each of these now separately for mobile as opposed to desktop or tablet. Okay. And now what I'm going to do, so I'll go to navbar container, and you'll see we have our visibility panel down on the top or the bottom right. I want to have just the top part showing. So this represents the top part that we have. It shows you the exact layout. I'm just going to click on each one of these parts on the bottom, and they will hide the entire bottom row of content that I had there. If I go to desktop and tablet, you'll see that nothing's been hidden because I did it just for mobile, but I'm going to hide the top part now, the actual new navigation bar, because I don't want that showing on desktop. And on tablet it is hidden, and on mobile, because I already changed it on mobile, it kind of remembers what I did, so it set it to that. So that is how you would kind of go from the design I had where the logo is in the center, because you can't really do that with a navigation component by itself. I had to put two navigation components and an image in the middle, but that's one way you can kind of create that layout that I did. Okay. So I'm going to go through and I'll start just kind of changing again, like I did in tablet. Let's make sure that the text and the other styles look good. Make this one a lot bigger. 36 looks pretty good. Okay, and let's go ahead and update the heading styles. So when I use it for other pages, it'll be good to go. It's always harder when you first create your site and you're kind of creating all these typography styles. But once you've done it once, it is much easier for every other page. And if you want to change it on your other pages, you could just do it from one place and it'll actually update across all your pages. So if I want to change the size or the color of this typography, very easy to do so. And let's make this smaller since it'll be on mobile. Don't want to take up too much space. And then for these service buckets here, let's go ahead and break them down into be each one on their own row. So you can see it looks pretty good just by doing that. For the text, let's go ahead and make this bigger as well. Let's see, I think 28 could work. Yeah. Let's update. You'll see it updated all those for me, so I don't have to do that one by one, which is great. And we'll leave the paragraph as is. I don't think I really need to change it too much. Okay. Let's see, I might close that row gap a little bit. I'll leave, you'll see it had the column gap, but I don't really need to worry about that since it doesn't really affect anything. Let's start shrinking or bring that spacing down so things get a little bit closer to each other. You know, I'll leave this back at 60. Okay. I might bring this more up. Okay. And again, we styled this before as well, so I don't need to go in here and really do anything except for drastically shorten that gap. I actually don't need this spacing here as well, which means it probably got added to this one, so I can get rid of that. But that works. And if I want, actually I could do this too. If I want to alternate, so I can, instead of 25 on that side, do 25 on that side. Just kind of give you that same effect we had before. You know what, maybe I want to add like 10, or could even do this, could even go back to like, kind of like what we did below with the press releases and give it, make it more center line. You know what, I'm gonna do what I had before though. Make them alternate what side they're on. Let's just undo back to where we were at. Let's see, 25, make sure they're the same, and 25. Perfect. Okay, so let's leave it like that. Bring this to 60. Okay, for our heading 2 style. So I think what I did 28 for the heading 3 style. So let's try 32. That looks pretty good. And let's update heading 2. And you'll see it updates up here. So it'll update all the other heading 2s we have on the page. And for this next section, what we'll probably want to do is I think we're going to go ahead and need to break this box apart a little bit. So I'm going to click on the center. Let's go ahead and give this one, since it was, the height of it was matching whatever's next to it in a row, but it's no longer next to anything in a row. So it's going to essentially be auto height by default until something gets dropped next to it, but that's fine. So I'm just setting the padding manually to make sure we see whatever image is there. And let's go ahead and get rid of this inner spacing as well. We can leave this top one, that's fine. You know, let's make this one, let's make it 26, just so it has a little more contrast down here. And you'll see as I update it, updates those as well. So that looks good. Make these 60. Make this one 60 as well. Don't want to forget that. Okay. Keeping everything consistent. And for these, let's go ahead and let's remove this bottom spacing. And okay, let's do this. So rather than having to do this, 2 other times after I fixed it the first time, I'm gonna make these center aligned like they were initially. Let's see, let's bring it down to 15. Is that what it was before? Might have been that before. Okay, that looks fine for me. Let's see what we had with that typography. Looks like this one got a little bit large. I think it was 14 on tablet. So let's make sure it's 14 as well. That works. And that's the heading 4, which, did we use that already? This was heading 3. Okay, so we can style this one if we want to make it a little bit bigger. Actually, I think it looks pretty good as 24, so I'm gonna leave it that way. And that way it is in fact smaller than heading 3 by a little bit. So it kind of follows the hierarchy a little bit. Okay, and now I'm going to, let's go back to desktop. And let's see, what did I have on tablet? Okay, yeah, so this should work as expected. So let's go back to desktop, let's delete these other boxes. Just duplicating that first one that I made the change on mobile, because now it has those mobile styles connected to it. So if I go on tablet, I'm gonna go ahead and bring these back to the same row, switch to mobile, put them now on their own row, and now you'll see that they're all stacked on top of each other, but they have that same look as the original box that we created and made better for mobile. Okay. And last section to make sure it looks good is our footer section, which definitely needs some work. First thing we're gonna do is we're going to just stack these things on top of each other. We are going to make the footer text smaller. So let's go ahead and update that. So all the links below will also update. Let's just add some spacing below the copyright. And I know it's not typically you know, scene where you have the copyright, you know, above the categories and whatnot, but you know, in this case, I think it's okay to have that. I'm not too worried. And let's see what else we might do here. So what we could do is, so each one of these categories was in, or like basically two categories were in a section together, or like a column together. So what I might do is I might, if I need to rethink this. Let's make this smaller first of all. What do we have on tablet? I think it's just 20 tablets. Let's make it either 20 or 18. Let's do 20. That should be fine. Let's update that as well. Okay, I'm going to change up the footer just a little bit. So I'm going to go back to desktop. And rather than have these footer calls, and rather than have these ones down below that are in the same call, I'm going to put a box call this one footer links. We'll call this one footer info. And I'm going to put the footer call into this footer links box. And what I can do now is actually I can delete these other calls. These footer calls, don't need those at the moment. Let's make this one. So how did I have this before? I think I had like, yeah, okay, I think centered is fine. That works. Let's get rid of the inner spacing there. Okay, so now each of these footer calls, I'm going to copy and paste and put it to the right inside of footer links. Duplicate that. Let's duplicate it some more times, and now I'll have each of these be basically, they're still on top of each other, but instead of it being like each column is grouped together, they're more, now it's just rows, so they'll it'll just be a little bit easier to work with on that mobile style I'm trying to go for. Okay, so that looks a little better. Doesn't really look too different so far, but it is going to be easier to play with. Okay, that works. Okay, now let's go back in here. Let's break that again. And I'm actually going to select this footer links box, and I'm going to make them so there's two columns on each row. There we go. So that's why it's now much easier to do what I just did, because they're all grouped a little bit differently, which just makes it a little bit straightforward. Okay, so there you go. So pretty easy to change the direction and change the content, how it's laid out, without having to feel completely overwhelmed. All right, so that is the footer. So that is pretty good. Let's just add a little bit of spacing there. Just increase that spacing a little bit. And the next step for me is going to be to add some actual images in here, kind of make it feel like a real template of sorts with actual content. Maybe add some other content in here like testimonials and whatnot. But and I maybe add some effects as well, like some parallax effects. But yeah, I think at the moment this looks pretty good. And I think I'll probably go ahead and stop it at the live stream today, because I don't think you guys want to see me just scrolling through Unsplash for too long. But yeah, so the next live stream we have is on Thursday, and we will be building out the other pages for this template. So I'll try to have some images already set and kind of make this look a little bit more finished. And we'll be able to reuse a lot of these sections like the footer and the header, and be able to put together our other pages without starting from scratch and using what we've got already. So thanks for joining. As always, you can join us on Discord we just hang out on there. I have this live stream on Discord as well. So if you want to chat or even just text message us on Discord, you can do that too. But thanks again for joining this live stream, and we will see you on Thursday.